Well, hello. Welcome to a impromptu show. That's what we're doing this one today. We have a little camera. We went up on the hill to go pull our chips out of our two cameras that we put up last year. I did a little bit on that as I jumped into the technology to kind of demystify that, because there's so many videos on cameras out there at the point in time. A lot of them just kind of run together, but with a little bit of an engineering background, I thought these were kind of interesting because they are Wi-Fi. It's fun if you got nothing going on, you put them in Wi-Fi mode, and then if it's not too far away, kind of go through your videos while you're sitting in a deer stand doing nothing, waiting for something to happen. So it does run the battery down when you use the Wi-Fi, but you can turn the Wi-Fi off on these. But I'm not doing a video to tout the Gardepros. This is a Gardepro E8. I did work and talk to the people who make these things last year on some things like I'd like to see this, I'd like to see little changes. And it's been a good little camera. It's not, I don't think at 15 frames a second, it's not a true HD, but I'm looking for a couple new ones that may be true HD that I can get a little bit better video for you guys here. But I want to show you something. When I went to go get these cameras, both of the two that I had hung, I had a third one and I went and put it out this year. So I went to go get the other two, and both of them were dead. And I expected the batteries would be dead by now. Even if you turn the Wi-Fi off, depending on your settings and your night vision and how long you do the video links, it can have a lot to do with how quickly they run down your batteries. Even if you get them on a panel, I had them on a panel, but they still ran down pretty quick, even despite that. And they had been out. I expected they'd be out by a couple, 2-3 months, but I didn't expect them to be out as long as they were. They locked up, they wouldn't work. And so I was about beside myself with not being happy with them not responding. I just basically took it, changed batteries out, turned it back on, and they wouldn't come back on. None of them, I wouldn't even get a display. So here's what I did. If you happen to have a Gardepro or maybe even something similar that runs out and it won't boot for whatever reason, what I did was go back to the house. I had to go and I got me a little card here. This had to be a very small one, 16 megs, spare one. And I formatted, I looked online, YouTube, and there's a good video showing how to do a BIOS update on these things. And so I thought, well, I'll try that, but it didn't work last time I watched that video. So I decided I'd do it again. Now with mine and the two units, I have actually 3 units, but the 2 that I've done this with, if you format, at least on my laptop, if I format the SD card on the laptop, on the Windows-based laptop, it won't work. It'll say it'll work, and you can put your file on it, and you put your file over onto the camera and try to get it loaded, but it won't do it. And also, if you don't format the card, it doesn't take pictures. And I discovered that early on, like the first week with the first one of these I had. I went and put them out there like, oh great, I know I'm going to get something even if it's a squirrel. And I got nothing. There was nothing recorded. So one of the tricks I have learned with this camera, this one model of camera I should keep showing you, format your SD card on the camera. Format it with the camera. Then put it back in your laptop. It read it fine on the laptop. Put your BIOS or your firmware update on the little card. Now I told you these things were both dead. I couldn't get them to come to life, which was a little bit stressful at the moment when I brought them back. So I loaded the batteries up. I took all the power off of them and put the batteries in. They just wouldn't come up. Long story made short, I fiddled with it. I checked all the contacts. It hadn't had any water inside of it. All the seals were good. It wasn't damaged or beat up. It just wouldn't come back to life. So I tried a couple things. I took the batteries out, had the panel disconnected, and I tried turning it on to drain any internal charges might be on some of the chips if there was something locked up or a transistor stuck in memory or something like that had it locked up. I tried the boot sequence that would tell it to look for the chip, and I couldn't remember exactly where it was, so I tried doing the menu button down, holding it down, and turning the power switch on without the batteries in it to drain off anything. And then I tried it after I put the fresh batteries back in, and one of them lit up eventually. I didn't do it when I was there at that camera, and I went and hung that third camera, and I came back the next day and it would respond. And I did have to kind of go back through it and play with it just a little bit, but it did seem to hold the memory inside as far as the settings went. It did detect the new camera on the new software that's out for the telephone, and once I got it running, I got the old camera, camera 2, back running. Camera 1, this one that I have in my little hand, would not work. No matter what I did with it in the field, it didn't work. I had it eventually on the second day. It did start, but it would do something really weird. It would come up and say, even without me trying to boot it and chip in the BIOS mode, it would come up and tell me there was something wrong with the SD card, or it couldn't look, and it would go off. So I thought, well, surely I can at least turn it on and get it to come on long enough to get a card in there and try to redo the update in case something got scrambled there. And every time I would try, it just wouldn't cooperate. And it actually, the errors kind of migrated with the length of time that the new fresh batteries were in it. So I took it down, took it to the house, did this procedure where I actually had the BIOS written and ready to go. And it was a good thing by memory, because, by the way, on these, when they give it a series, like for this camera, there's a 2 series, I think it is, and a 6 series. You have to know what kind of generation of firmware is in your hardware, because if you can't put a 6 version in on a 2 version camera, and you wouldn't want to put the 2 version on a 6, on the new one. So I had remembered that, looked into the downloads on the laptop that I pulled from to see what generation it was, and it was, of course, E2, which is what I remembered. So I got a latest version, got the card ready, put it in there, and through a couple of injections and rejection of the little chip, because it would give me like, what, can't read, the chip is invalid. It'd give me a chip is invalid when there wasn't a chip in the unit. But eventually I got it where it did pick up the chip with the correct formatting from the camera. Eventually it booted up enough where I could tell it, format this SD card. And once I got it formatted with a new thing, it loaded that software right up and has been working ever since. So it's a little peculiarity to it. Don't know what caused it. We're going to find out if it's actually working. The other one, I didn't update the BIOS. It did finally come up after wiggling the battery and everything, getting everything checked out. It did come up and it appears to be working. It's doing the Wi-Fi, the whole 9 yards. In a couple of months, I'll go back up there and look at it, turn the Wi-Fi off just to let it run, because it's hot as the devil out there. And I just kind of want to see what's going on, see if I got any bucks in felt or anything like that. But yes, it's a little bit scary, and no, the video that I found on YouTube that said how to update the firmware didn't work. The key difference is with both cases, even just taking pictures or videos, if I formatted on the laptop, it would not work in the camera. But if I formatted the media in the camera, it worked beautifully in all cases. So I don't know what's going on there. Just when you first get your camera, I would say check your latest version of your firmware. Put it on a small, you probably got a couple of these laying around the house anyway that you're not using. Put it on one of these and mark it. I don't know if you can see that on the back, but I got, let me turn right side up. It says Trail Cam BIOS or whatever it is on the back of it. And that way, if I ever get in the situation again, I'll be able to put the chip back in. And if it sees that chip, it will write over that program once more in case something got scrambled inside of it. Don't know, but for some reason, that's generally a pretty primitive part of the boot sequence, is going down there just checking to see if there's a firmware update. So that's what I did. They're both running. I hope this helps you. Hope you have a good season this year, and thank you.